The legal name is the control mechanism that enslaves humanity, making, well, you think that you're a piece of paper, a set of sigils on a piece of paper. And the truth of the matter is this: people think a contract is made on paper. It's not. It's made in the choice within you. As soon as you agree or decide to do one thing or another, that is a contract. And by your actions, you are shown. So if you agree to do something and carry it through, your actions will convey that. So if you're using a legal name, identification of any kind whatsoever, and if you look it up, you'll see it for yourself. It says on the birth certificates. Might have to do a little digging, but it's there. I have it on mine. It's like it's in bold at the bottom. Warning: not to be used for identification purposes. Yet you cannot create any identification on this planet without it. So it's telling you right out of the gate. And of course, there's the caution on the version of birth certificate that was issued to my parents. It says caution. Any falsification or false certificates created is also a crime, and that is any identification: passports, bank accounts, credit cards, debit cards, anything that involves a legal name in the legal matrix of commerce. See, legal and commerce are one and the same. Remember, all the courts are the very simplistic way of looking at it. The courts are all admiralty. Okay, so this is the law of the sea, and all of these things interconnect. When you're dealing with canon law, it doesn't matter whatever it is. Everything that we have in our man-made matrix is a mimic or a copy of universal law designed to deceive. So the key to the game is simply this: the legal name. Once you understand that it's fraud, it's not yours. You didn't create the body you're walking around in. Mom and Dad did. You didn't name the body you're walking around in. Mom and Dad did. And you didn't sell the name to the crown through registration. Mom and Dad did. So effectively, when you, the being, enter the body on the first breath, that's when the spirit enters the trees of life, called Gemini, the lungs. Okay? You're actually getting into a car, allegorically,
right,
that was sold. And if you use the name of the car, then you're creating the contract to the contract with your mom and dad that they made with the crown unknowingly. This was not revealed to mom and dad on the registration. It wasn't told to me with my children. It wasn't told to anyone with their children. So the standard fundamental law maxim comes into play. A fraud revealed is null and void, nunc pro tunc. And that decision is not on paper. That decision you make to be the legal name or not is made in your mind and heart once you understand the truth of what's going on here. The legal name says that you are okay with slavery. And then, of course, with the way the whole system works, with this physical survival, which is so contrary to spiritual living, is how mankind is kept in fear, kept hungry, kept wanting, kept being shown that there's lack of this, there's a shortage of that, and all the rest of it. So it keeps the human mind in a state of survival. You don't see too many people in, mainstream doing anything better than survival. The only ones that are doing anything better than survival are the ones that are stealing, i.e. the bankers, the churches, and all of the conglomerate, if you will. And I don't like to separate them and us, because we're all one. But there is a point of consciousness, one point of consciousness that is evil. And everything that's attached to that is a fractal. So what we do is collapse lies. And when you do that, you collapse part of that tree. So what we've done is collapse the tree down to one single thread, if you will. That's the trick. Okay, legal name is the key. Now, the real trick of the game and how it's mastered, this is why they're called magistrates. They do work in magic, pure magic, called sound, language. What I discovered was the original living language called Phonics or Phoenician. All Roman law is based on Phoenician. Now, if you take that literally, you're thinking man-made, the Hammurabi and the Nag Hammadi and all the rest of these things. No, that's not what this is. I'll give you a quick example of how words, under assumption and presumption, have you thinking you're saying one thing when you're saying something else. And it's a really easy example.
Sure.
Have you ever heard someone say that a cop said to them, "Do you refuse to have a lawyer?" A cop has actually said that to me.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Right. So if you say yes, you're damned. And if you say no, you're damned. Because when you say, "No, I don't refuse it," and then they'll give you a lawyer, one of their team, to deceive you from behind the scenes. They work for the same team. Or if you say, I do refuse a lawyer, what you're saying is, phonetically, is that you still want one, because the word refuse means to join again. if you blow a fuse in the panel, you go and refuse it. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a different intention contained within it. But in common speak, people think that to refuse something is to say no, or if you pronounce it refuse, it's garbage. So the assumptions and presumptions that people make in common speak, it's because we speak so fast, we don't even know what we're saying. So what I did was I decoded the language phonetically. And what I mean by that is I find the equal and opposite, the positive and negative meaning in every word, which there is. There's a positive and a negative. There's the example of refuse, right? One means the complete opposite of the other. So when you collapse that, that's the 0 point of the word, because sound got trapped in these sigils with assumptions and presumptions. And we walk around talking just literal Babylon. That's phonetic. It's a truth. And it's really neat when you catch on to this, you see the magic everywhere. So what I do then, after I take the word refuse and find it's -1 and +1, which equals 0, now the word is empty of any intent outside of me. So I redefine the word using my definitions, not their definitions. You see, it's Phoenician law. So I change it letter by letter. So here's what the definition of that word is, letter by letter. That word translated phonetically is this: the spirit breath into the consciousness through the heart of intent of divine feminine consciousness. Source itself. So that's a different meaning that you won't find in a book anywhere, because it's in my book of life. So what we do then is we put our own intentions, our own meanings into the word. So now anytime the word refuse is used, it's been literally collapsed for all. And that's the energy that's going out now. So it's a bigger picture here. We'll get into that really deep stuff shortly.
Yeah, that is a great introduction. And, you hear these things about the Freemen on the Land movement, or the, what's it called? The sovereign citizen movement.
Sovereign citizens, yeah. The idiot movement. The idiot movement, I call it. Yeah, it's, I call them the gimmies, and they're caught in the matrix. Because here's the problem with the free man and the cops and all the rest of it. They're all the same to me. If you use a legal name, you're committing fraud, and I can prove it. It says right on the birth certificate that it's Crown copyright. Now, the Crown will never assert, it says in their manuals, will never assert their ownership of a Crown copyright. Well, why would they? The scam works too good. Why would you assert a copyright infringement on someone using a legal name that you never had permission to use? Do you have a bar card? That's what a bar card is. A bar card says that the holder of the card, the member of the bar, has the right of use of Crown copyright. And remember, a name is not a title. Mr. and Mrs. is a title. Okay?
Right.
The name is contained in the body of the work. Remember, a songwriter, a publishing company, I kind of know a thing about copyright because I grew up through it. This is, as a songwriter, 25, 30 years of. So with a copyright and the body of the work, it's like this. You cannot copyright a title, only the body of a work. So I'll explain that easily. How many songs do you know that are different with the same title?
Right, yeah, plenty.
Plenty, right? So you can't copyright the title, but you can copyright the body of the work. So here's the trick they pulled. The body of the work is the name written on the page inside the book. The book is copyright, thus the body of the work is copyright, not the title. So we've removed the illusion of a name being a title. And actually a name means way. That's the etymology. So if you're using a legal name, that's the way of the Whore of Babylon that you're walking. Now, if you understand what your name really means phonetically, and I show people how to do this, then you will find your way. So I don't have a name, I have a way. Kate is a way. It is the spirit of the law of truth and consciousness, K-T-E. It's actually the spirit of the Christ mind in the law of truth in consciousness. K-A-T-E. So Kate is not a name, it's a state of mind. It is a concept, right?
Yeah.
And it's the Christ mind. And this is the greatest story ever told. And the churches do such a wonderful job of teaching it backwards. And if you don't do what I say, we're going to put you on that cross thing, like we have this guy at the front of the altar here. So best behave, kids. And I tell you, those of us that walk this path, we go through our allegorical crucifixions. I did.
Right.
So any of the free men on the land and sovereign citizen, patriot, and legal stuff, they're all defying copyright. You can't do a court case without using a legal name. That's a fact. Go ahead and try.
Yeah, see, I really think you are onto something, and probably the most convincing way I've heard you explain it in the past is when you were trying to find this truth, it had to be, to find the key to the enslavement, it had to be something applicable to everyone, had to be done against our will from cradle to grave, and had to be something they would fight tooth and nail to keep in place. And you're right, it's the legal name. I can't think of anything more fundamentally important to that system.
That's it. Everything is based on it. Because remember, the money is created off the birth bonds. The birth bonds they're graded like any other bond. I mean, you can look at a hospital application, the questionnaire that a mom will get, they'll ask you if you're Hispanic, white, black, and they'll ask you, is it the same father? And what they're doing is they're grading the bond to see its value. So to give you an example, someone that, say, grows up in the ghetto, the Bronx or whatever, I don't care wherever it is, doesn't have the same bond value as a Yale kid. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the bond is assessed a value at the beginning, and let's say the kid in the ghetto, their bond is set at $50,000. It's worth that. We'll get $50,000 out of taxes and stuff out of this individual. What this is, the grading of a bond is a way of saying how much they'll be able to squeeze out of that slave during their lifetime. So they'll be able to squeeze a lot more taxes and mortgages and everything else out of someone that comes out of a household that is, say, millionaires versus someone that's on a Social Security check, you see, right? So they literally do this. Now that's where the money's created. So if the baby is graded as a low bond, 50,000, they'll create $50,000 ferns, Federal Reserve notes, based on that, and pump it into the system. So this is literally mind, body, and soul that's going on here. So the money that is in existence is all fiat by decree, and it's all based on the birth certificate fraud, which of course requires one thing to make that bond active. It requires you, the living, to consent to be the dead legal name that is Crown-owned property, City of London state. There is only one jurisdiction on this planet, and every corporation goes right back to its original registration. All things registered are all things crowned. Register means to rule the divine feminine. That's what they're after, your creation, and it plays out in the phonics beautifully.
Huh, so at the core of this whole system, who set this thing up? I mean, where's all the money going?
Who knows where it goes? It's just, the point is, it's being parasited.
Right.
What we're dealing with here is you are the host, and there is a parasite called legal name attached to you. And it's like if you get the visual of the Matrix with Neo in the tank with all the hoses coming out of him, you're that battery cell, and it is literally draining physical energy and spiritual. It's a soul contract. If you agree to be dead with a legal name, and in case you're wondering why, cops can get away with, murder, I think it's 129 years since the institution of, and not one cop has ever been charged with murder, because every situation, the police have always been able to justify it. Well, if you're making the rules up, I can justify anything.
Right.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're going to play with someone, if you're going to play Monopoly with someone that's writing the rules as they go, are you going to expect to win? So here's the only choice you have left. It's called 0 point, zero player. Don't play.